don't understand, where we are with things. Don't understand, where we are with things.
In the spring of 2016, when the Democratic National Committee found that its servers had been breached and its information exfiltrated, they went not to the FBI or any other law enforcement entity, they went first to Crowdstrike. Crowdstrike is a private, for-profit cyber attribution firm headquartered here in Irvine, California. At the same time that the DNC had contracted with Crowdstrike to analyze its servers and determine who was responsible for the alleged hacking, Crowdstrike actually had an active contract with the FBI for unrelated services.
The contract, listed on a U.S. federal government spending database as being worth $150,000, was active between July of 2015 and July of 2016. This would encompass the time that Crowdstrike was approached by the DNC to assess its allegedly hacked servers. Word of Crowdstrike's involvement with the DNC appears to first have been promulgated by a Washington Post article on June 14, 2016. In which former chairperson Debbie Wasserman Schultz is quoted as saying that the DNC reached out to Crowdstrike immediately upon discovering the breach. Again, reached out not to law enforcement but to Crowdstrike. As yet, the only party that has received primary access to the DNC servers that were supposedly hacked is still Crowdstrike. In January of 2017, former FBI Director James Comey confirmed that the FBI was repeatedly rebuffed when it attempted to assess the DNC servers for itself, and instead was forced to rely on Crowdstrike.
Director Comey, let me talk about forensics for just a minute, because the FBI has the expertise there. And I know there's tremendous investigative value when the FBI is actually able to conduct their own forensics review on devices that have suffered cyber intrusions and attacks. I believe there's some confusion, though, or at least some conflicting reporting as to whether the FBI requested access to the DNC's services, the Democratic Congressional Committee servers, and John Podesta's personal devices. Did the FBI request access to those devices to perform forensics on?
Yes, we did.
And would that access have provided intelligence or information helpful to your investigation and possibly to the findings included in the intelligence community assessments?
Our forensics folks would always prefer to get access to the original device or server that's involved. So it's the best evidence.
Were you given access to do the forensics on those servers?
We were not. We were a highly respected private company, eventually got access and shared with us what they saw there.
But is that typically?
Prefer to have access hands-on ourselves, if that's possible.
Do you know why you were denied access to those servers?
I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure.
Was there one request or multiple requests?
Multiple requests at different levels. And ultimately what was agreed to is the private company would share with us what they saw.
Now this, what you might call the cyber attribution industry, is still in its early stages. So you'd expect some kinks to come up that need to be worked out. But what's different in this situation is that the findings proffered by Crowdstrike have served as the basis for a pretty consequential geopolitical narrative, which is that Russia is employing all sorts of surreptitious tactics.
Nicole Pearl-Roth reports on cybersecurity for the New York Times. She had a very personal encounter with the cybersecurity firm Crowdstrike, which helped trace that Russian hack, and she joins me now. Great to have you on, Nicole. You cover these stories, this issue very closely. Tell us about Crowdstrike and what they told you about Russian interference.
Well, back in 2016, it was pretty clear from the forensics, as you said, Jim, that Russian actors were to blame. Two groups, Fancy Bear and Cozy Bear, that were really well known to the cybersecurity community, had left their digital fingerprints all over the hack at the DNC.
And these tactics are supposedly designed to undermine or disrupt the Western democratic order. The claims being made here are highly incendiary, and they're being used as the basis for formulating American foreign policy. Yet, given that Crowdstrike is a private company, it's accountable not to the general public, but to its funders.
If vital government functions are increasingly being outsourced to private for-profit firms like Crowdstrike, then the ability to dictate geopolitical events is increasingly being concentrated in the hands of a relatively small number of people.
Crowdstrike certainly has reason to appreciate all the attention. On May 17th, the firm announced that it had closed on a round of venture capital funding that left it appraised at over $1 billion.
Crowdstrike did not reply to a request for comment.
Questions were asked about why the CIA and FBI had to ask the DNC 13 times for their server and were rejected, still don't have it.
Can you just first react to those comments for me?
The only reaction I have is that in 2016 we actually performed the DNC investigation. We worked very closely with the FBI, turned over all the forensic data, and we stand by the conclusions that we had, and they were backed up by the intelligence community. So I think a lot of what we've done has already been said, and after that, I can't necessarily don't understand where we are with things.
We never got direct access to the machines themselves. The DNC in the spring of 2016 hired a firm.
You have still never been given access to any of the technical or the physical machines that were hacked by the Russians.
That's correct, although we got the forensics from the pros that they hired, which, again, best practice is always to get access to the machines themselves, but this, my folks tell me, was an appropriate substitute.
Because the FBI came to the DNC in the fall of 2016, got the help desk, ended up talking to a young cybersecurity person who didn't really believe he was talking to an FBI agent, who didn't raise the alarms within the DNC. And the FBI agents didn't really raise the alarm at the upper levels of the DNC either. And it's not like these two groups were really far apart. You can walk between the FBI headquarters and the DNC headquarters on your way to getting a cup of coffee.
Surely there was a fair weather day.
Yeah, there must have been.
Getting crazy, baby, chill. Don't medicate, just meditate. You waking up now, well, baby, you hella late. Educate, look at what's going on, let it resonate, accelerate. Find your inner hunger like you never ate. Agenda is to push the hate, separate and segregate. Don't celebrate quite yet, the storm is coming, Q, for heaven's sake. Violence that they demonstrate, instigate and penetrate. The values of our country and our God is what they desecrate. My fighters ain't no featherweight, pulling out the seams of the fabric that they fabricate. They feed us lies, manipulate, intimidate through fear and force, forcing us to sit and wait till we come together, congregate, and then we liberate. Praying that you give me strength to find some love amongst the hate. Marching on these streets of blood till I see the golden gates. Troubadour and troubled souls, one of God's servants. Blades out, cut the grass till we see the serpents.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone.
bottle, just digest it. Suspected something's going on, but chose to just
No one is above the law.
Because no one is above the law. In America, nobody is above the law.
I believe we in Congress have a duty to demand accountability and safeguard one of our nation's highest principles, that no one is above the law.
No one is above the law. Not you, not the Congress.
Anyone else who did these things would be prosecuted for them. We must ensure that no one is above the law.
This is the United States of America. No one is above the law. No one.
No one is above the law.
It is clear that any other person who engaged in such conduct would be charged with a crime. We will continue our investigation because no one is above the law.
Because no one is above the law.
We must be clear. No one is above the law.
That no one is above the law.
You're correct. No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one.
We will continue our investigation.